For the prototype, at least, I would recommend not dropping anything when you're near it.
We are 70% water and only 30% land. And so really, the availability of fresh water is simply about energy and transport.
Elon Musk, Mat Armstrong, Ferrari, and Bugatti are now part of a shocking situation that the automotive world is watching closely. These names normally belong to completely different worlds, but now they seem connected through one powerful conflict. Ferrari and Bugatti represent strict control, luxury engineering, and closed systems, while Mat Armstrong represents independent rebuilding, creativity, and garage-level engineering against impossible odds. Elon Musk has now stepped into the situation in a way that clearly supports the idea of open repair and freedom for car owners. In his public statements, he has strongly criticized the idea that software locks should control a car after someone legally buys it. He suggested that if a person owns a vehicle, they should not be blocked from repairing or restarting it just because of digital restrictions. This view directly supports the kind of work Mat Armstrong is doing in his garage. Musk also compared modern car software systems to older industries where companies try to control repairs, saying that such systems often hurt innovation instead of protecting it. He made it clear that technology should empower users, not restrict them. This position immediately put him in a situation where his opinion aligns more with independent builders like Mat Armstrong than with luxury manufacturers like Ferrari and Bugatti, who rely heavily on strict software systems to protect their vehicles. Mat Armstrong's journey started as a simple passion for rebuilding damaged cars, but it slowly turned into something much bigger. He began by buying wrecked vehicles that most people would consider completely useless, and then he documented every step of rebuilding them in his garage. Over time, his content became extremely popular because people loved watching complex cars being brought back to life with basic tools and determination. His work soon reached a level where he was no longer just fixing normal cars, but rebuilding supercars and hypercars that even official manufacturers considered almost impossible to repair. This included heavily damaged Ferrari models and complex Bugatti vehicles. Each project increased his reputation, but also increased attention from the manufacturers themselves. Ferrari and Bugatti both operate in a world where every part of the car is tightly controlled. They believe that only authorized systems and software should be used to repair their vehicles. Mat, on the other hand, works in a completely different way. He studies the damage, sources parts from different places, and rebuilds cars outside official systems. This difference in philosophy is what created the tension. When Elon Musk publicly supported the idea of open access and criticized software restrictions, it indirectly strengthened Mat Armstrong's position. It gave his work more visibility and made people question whether independent builders should be blocked from repairing expensive machines they legally own. This shift turned what was once a niche YouTube rebuilding channel into a much larger debate about ownership control and digital rights in modern cars. The conflict became more serious when Mat Armstrong started working on extremely advanced cars like Ferrari and Bugatti models that rely heavily on digital systems. These vehicles are not just mechanical machines anymore. They are fully controlled by complex software that manages performance, safety, and even whether the car can start or not in Ferrari's case. The company uses systems that can prevent a car from functioning if it detects unauthorized repairs or modifications. This means that even if the physical repair is perfect, the car may still refuse to start if the software does not approve it. This became a major problem for Mat Armstrong when he rebuilt one of his projects and discovered that everything was mechanically correct, but the electronic system refused to cooperate. Bugatti's situation was slightly different, but equally strict. Bugatti focuses on extreme precision engineering and believes that only certified technicians can handle their vehicles. They argue that their systems are too complex for independent repair, and any mistake could lead to serious safety risks. This is why they restrict access to parts and technical systems. Mat Armstrong's approach directly challenges both of these philosophies. He believes that if a car can be physically repaired, then it should be allowed to function again, regardless of official restrictions. This clash between mechanical skill and digital control is what makes his story so powerful and controversial at the same time as the situation developed. The story moved beyond just cars and entered the world of legal and technological conflict. Ferrari's position is based on three main ideas: intellectual property, safety, and contractual control. They argue that their software is protected, their systems are designed for safety, and buyers agree to follow certain rules when purchasing their vehicles. However, critics of this system argue that once a person buys a car, they should have full control over it, including repair and modification rights. This is where Elon Musk's comments became extremely important. By publicly supporting the idea that software lock should not prevent ownership rights, he added weight to the argument made by independent builders like Mat Armstrong. Matt's situation became even more complicated because even after completing mechanical repairs, his car still required software authorization to function. This created a kind of invisible barrier that no physical repair could solve. The car was complete, but still inactive. This is where the debate becomes bigger than just one YouTuber or one car brand. It becomes a question about the future of all modern vehicles. If software can control whether a legally owned car works or not, then ownership itself becomes limited. This idea is what turned Mat Armstrong's rebuild into a global discussion. The involvement of Elon Musk escalated the situation to a completely new level. His comment about open-source diagnostic tools and software access for vehicle owners introduced a possible solution that could bypass traditional restrictions. This idea immediately attracted attention from engineers, legal experts, and automotive enthusiasts around the world. For Mat Armstrong, this development represented hope. His biggest challenge was not mechanical repair, but software restriction. Even with perfect engineering work, the car could remain locked. Musk's proposed approach suggested that independent tools could communicate with vehicle systems in a legitimate way without breaking legal boundaries. Ferrari and Bugatti, however, see this differently. From their perspective, software control is necessary to protect safety, maintain performance standards, and prevent unauthorized modifications that could damage their brand reputation. They argue that removing these controls could create risks for both drivers and manufacturers. This disagreement shows a deep divide in the automotive world. On one side, there is innovation, openness, and independent repair culture. On the other side, there is controlled engineering, strict quality systems, and legal protection. Mat Armstrong has unintentionally become the center of this conflict, with Elon Musk's statements amplifying the global attention around it. Today, the situation is no longer just about one car or one rebuild. It has become a symbol of a larger battle between ownership rights and digital control. Mat Armstrong continues to document his work, showing every challenge he faces while trying to bring complex cars back to life. His audience follows not just for entertainment, but to understand what this conflict means for the future of cars. Elon Musk's involvement has made the situation even more significant because it brings major technological influence into a space that was previously dominated by traditional car manufacturers. His support for open systems has given new energy to debates about repair rights, software ownership, and digital freedom. Ferrari and Bugatti now face pressure not only from independent builders, but also from growing public discussion. The automotive industry is slowly moving toward a future where software plays a central role in every vehicle, and that means control over software equals control over ownership, the I in the end. This story is not just about a garage in the UK or a billionaire in the United States. It is about how modern technology is changing the meaning of ownership itself. And as this debate continues, the world is watching closely to see whether control stays with manufacturers or shifts back to the people who actually own the machines. The pressure around Mat Armstrong's project increased even more as the situation moved deeper into the software side of modern cars. What once looked like a simple rebuild project slowly turned into a technical and legal struggle that no one fully expected. Every step forward in the garage seemed to be matched by another barrier in the car's digital system. Even when physical repairs were perfect, the vehicle still behaved like it was locked from the inside, waiting for permission from its manufacturer systems. This is where the core problem of modern supercars becomes very clear. These cars are no longer just machines made of metal, carbon fiber, and bolts. They are also computers on wheels. That means even if a skilled builder like Mat Armstrong repairs everything correctly, the software can still decide that the car should not function. This creates a strange situation where mechanical success does not always lead to real success on the road. Elon Musk's comments added more weight to this debate because he highlighted a future where software should not fully control physical ownership. His viewpoint suggests that if you buy something, especially something as expensive as a supercar, you should not be blocked from using it due to hidden digital restrictions. This idea strongly supports independent builders who want to restore damaged cars without being trapped by manufacturer systems. Ferrari and Bugatti, however, see this differently. From their perspective, software control is not just about restriction, but about protecting extremely complex engineering systems. They argue that modern hypercars operate at a level where even small mistakes can create serious safety risks. Because of this, they believe software locks are necessary to ensure that only certified systems are used during repairs. But this is exactly where the conflict grows. Because while manufacturers talk about safety, independent builders and supporters of open repair seek control. They see a system where ownership is not fully complete, and where a car can be taken away from its owner digitally even after full payment. This disagreement is now no longer just technical. It is philosophical, and it is spreading across the entire automotive world. As the story developed further, Mat Armstrong found himself in a situation that went beyond anything he had experienced before. His garage projects used to be simple challenges of time, tools, and skill. But now, every step was connected to global discussions about technology, ownership, and digital control. The Ferrari 296 rebuild especially became a symbol of this struggle because it represented both mechanical success and digital resistance at the same time. Even after rebuilding major parts of the car, including its structure, suspension, and body components, the vehicle still refused to fully activate. This was not because of mechanical failure, but because of internal software systems that required manufacturer approval. For Mat, this created frustration because everything visible was complete, yet the invisible digital systems still held control. Elon Musk's involvement changed how many people viewed this problem. By openly criticizing software restrictions in vehicles, he indirectly gave support to the idea that independent repair should be possible without corporate approval. His comments made people question whether companies should have permanent control over products after selling them. This added public pressure to an already growing debate. Ferrari and Bugatti, on the other hand, continue to stand by their systems. They argue that their cars are not ordinary vehicles, but highly advanced machines that require strict control to maintain performance, safety, and brand integrity. From their perspective, allowing unrestricted repair could lead to damage, misuse, and loss of engineering standards that define their brand. This clash of ideas created a divide that is now much bigger than just one YouTuber or one project. It represents two different visions of the future. One future is open, where owners have full freedom over what they buy. The other future is controlled, where manufacturers continue to guide every part of a product's life even after it is sold. Mat Armstrong's story sits exactly in the middle of this conflict, making it one of the most interesting automotive debates of the modern era. As the situation continued to grow, attention from the outside world became even stronger. What started as a garage rebuild project was now being discussed in wider technology and automotive communities. People who normally never watch car restoration videos were suddenly interested because this was no longer just about fixing a wrecked supercar. It had become a question about control, software, and ownership in the modern world. Mat Armstrong's Ferrari rebuild represented something very important in this debate. On the surface, it looked like a simple story of repairing a damaged car. But underneath, it showed a deeper problem. Even when a person has the skill, tools, and replacement parts, the car can still refuse to function because of hidden software restrictions. This created frustration not only for Mat, but also for viewers who began to realize how much control manufacturers now have over modern vehicles. Elon Musk's position made the situation even more powerful. By supporting the idea that software locks on owned product are unfair, he gave global attention to something that was previously only discussed in niche repair communities. His comments suggested that technology should not be used to limit ownership, but to improve accessibility. This aligned closely with the philosophy of independent builders who believe repair knowledge should not be restricted by corporations. Ferrari and Bugatti, however, remained firm in their approach. They believe their vehicles represent the highest level of engineering, and that any modification or repair outside their systems can introduce risks. Their argument is that software control is not about limiting owners, but about maintaining safety and protecting extremely complex systems that require precise calibration. This disagreement shows a growing gap in the automotive industry. On one side, there is a traditional model where manufacturers maintain control even after sale. On the other side, there is a growing movement pushing for repair freedom and open access. Mat Armstrong's project sits right at the center of this conflict, making his garage not just a workspace, but a symbolic battleground for the future of automotive ownership. As the debate intensified, the role of technology became even more important. Modern hypercars like Ferrari and Bugatti models are no longer purely mechanical machines. They depend heavily on electronic control units, sensors, and software systems that manage everything from engine performance to safety features. This means that even a perfectly rebuilt engine is not enough to make the car fully operational. In Mat Armstrong's case, this became the biggest obstacle. While the physical repair work was extremely detailed and professional, the car still required software authorization to fully activate. This created a situation where traditional mechanical skill was no longer enough. The missing piece was digital access, which only the manufacturer could provide. Elon Musk's comments added a new layer to this discussion by suggesting that such systems should not be completely locked away from owners. He pointed out that if software is controlling something you legally own, then there should be a fair way to access or reset it. This idea directly challenges the closed systems used by luxury manufacturers and supports the idea of open diagnostic tools. Ferrari and Bugatti argue that this level of control is necessary because their cars operate at extremely high performance limits. They believe that unauthorized access could lead to incorrect calibration, unsafe driving conditions, or even damage to the vehicle. From their point of view, software restrictions are a form of protection rather than limitation. But critics argue that this protection also creates dependency. It forces owners to rely only on official channels, even when they have the technical ability to repair the vehicle themselves. This is why Mat Armstrong's story has become so important. It shows a real-world example of how mechanical freedom can be limited by digital systems, raising questions that go far beyond one garage or one car. As the conflict grew even further, it started to feel less like a simple automotive story and more like a modern battle between two eras of technology. One era represents traditional engineering, where companies build machines and allow owners to repair them using physical tools and mechanical knowledge. The other era represents software-controlled machines, where access, repair, and even basic functionality depend on digital permissions. Mat Armstrong's Ferrari project became a perfect example of this shift. Every physical step of the rebuild showed skill, patience, and deep understanding of car mechanics. Panels were replaced, damaged parts were sourced, and the structure of the car was carefully restored. From a mechanical point of view, the car was coming back to life in a way that few people could achieve outside a professional factory environment. However, the digital side told a completely different story. Even when everything looked complete, the car still did not behave like a fully functional machine. This created a strange contrast, visually perfect engineering on one side and silent software resistance on the other. This is the point where modern vehicles become very different from older cars, because success is no longer only physical. Elon Musk's involvement in this broader debate gave the situation a global spotlight. His support for open access and criticism of software locking systems added weight to the idea that ownership should include full functional control. It suggested that a product should not become partially unusable just because a company decides to enforce digital restrictions after sale. Ferrari and Bugatti, on the other hand, continue to defend their systems by emphasizing safety, performance, and brand responsibility. They argue that their cars operate at the edge of engineering limits, where even small errors in repair or calibration can create serious consequences. This is why they insist on controlled systems and authorized service networks. This disagreement now represents more than just a technical debate. It has become a question about trust, control, and the meaning of ownership in a digital world. And Mat Armstrong's garage has unexpectedly become one of the most visible places where this conflict is playing out in real time, the stage of the story. The attention surrounding Mat Armstrong's work has reached a level that goes far beyond typical automotive content. What started as a niche rebuilding channel has turned into a global case study about how modern machines are controlled. Millions of viewers now follow not just for entertainment, but to understand what a struggle means for the future of all technology-driven products. The key issue at the center of everything is access. In the past, owning a car meant having almost complete control over it. If something broke, it could be repaired by a mechanic or even the owner themselves. But in today's world, especially with high-end vehicles like Ferrari and Bugatti models, ownership is no longer fully complete without software access. Elon Musk's statements added fuel to this discussion by suggesting that closed software systems in own products can create unfair limitations. His perspective highlights a growing concern in the tech world. When software becomes more important than hardware, control can shift away from a user and move toward a manufacturer. This is exactly what independent builders like Mat Armstrong are pushing back against. Ferrari and Bugatti remain firm in their position that their systems are designed to ensure safety and protect extremely complex engineering designs. They argue that without strict control, there is a risk of improper repairs, which could affect performance or even endanger drivers. From their point of view, software locks are not barriers, but safeguards. But the reality shown in Mat Armstrong's project creates a powerful contrast. A fully rebuilt supercar that still cannot function properly challenges the idea that ownership is complete. It forces viewers to question whether modern products are truly owned or simply licensed under strict conditions. This is why the story continues to grow, because it is no longer just about one car. It is about the future relationship between humans, machines, and the companies that build them. As the story moves deeper, the pressure around Mat Armstrong's project continues to build from both technical and public sides. What once looked like a personal challenge in a garage has now become a symbolic example of how modern engineering and software control are tightly connected. Every update in the rebuild is now followed by discussion, debate, and analysis from viewers, engineers, and automotive enthusiasts around the world. In the physical sense, the Ferrari rebuild shows how far independent builders can go with enough skill and determination. Damaged structures are repaired, complex components are replaced, and systems are carefully reassembled piece by piece. This part of the process looks like traditional engineering at its highest level, where hands-on knowledge still plays the most important role. But the real difficulty does not come from physical repair anymore. It comes from an invisible software layer that sits inside the car. Even when everything appears complete, the vehicle still depends on internal digital approval systems to fully operate. This creates a situation where the car is physically ready but digitally restricted, which makes the entire process feel incomplete. Elon Musk's involvement continues to influence how people interpret this situation. His public criticism of software restrictions reinforces the idea that ownership should include full control over a product's functionality. He highlights a future where digital systems do not block legitimate repair or restoration work, especially when the owner has legally purchased a product. Ferrari and Bugatti continue to defend their position by emphasizing engineering responsibility and safety. They argue that their vehicles are designed with extremely precise systems that require controlled environments for repair and calibration. From their perspective, removing these restrictions could introduce risks that would not be acceptable in high-performance machines. This ongoing disagreement shows how the automotive world is splitting into two different philosophies. One focuses on open access and independent repair, while the other focuses on strict control and manufacturer responsibility. Mat Armstrong's project sits right in the middle of this divide, making his work more than just entertainment. It has become a real example of a changing technological era. As the situation continues to evolve, it becomes clear that this is no longer just about one Ferrari or one Bugatti. It is now part of a much larger global conversation about how much control manufacturers should have after selling a product. In the past, ownership meant freedom to use, repair, and modify without restriction. Today, that definition is becoming more complicated because of software